Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. You may not be accustomed to seeing me at this time, at this day of the week. That's fine. This is a special stream for a Saturday. My name is Margaret Pinard. I am a historical fiction writer and eclectic reader, and you're on Booktube. But this is a special Booktube bonus. I did a whole month of Agitation August where I talked to guests about a book that changed their lives or made them think differently about something major. And so we're bringing that back just for a one-night review special with one of my favorite people on YouTube, Melissa Ike. Yay! Welcome, Melissa.
Hello. Thank you for having me back, Margaret. I'm always excited to come and talk to you about just basically anything.
Yes, me too. I'm so excited because I'll get to hear about your thoughts on things, even though you do give us lots of thoughts when you're doing your sprints, which are always lovely community events. So
yes, I do.
We had those last 2 Saturdays, which have been really fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bonus Agitation August conversation, and Melissa is here to talk about a certain book. So Melissa, why don't you give us a short intro in case people don't know you on the channel, and then tell us about your book.
Okay, I was grabbing the book and then I was like, no, it's not time yet. Hello, I'm Melissa Ike. Let's see. In terms of agitation, I'm agitating frequently because my full-time job is running a nonprofit that I co-founded in Oklahoma City a little over 10 years ago called Dragonfly Human Trafficking Victim Services, where we serve hundreds of people who have experienced sex trafficking or labor trafficking, as well as secondary victims, their children or family members, every year, providing wraparound services. And what that means is whatever they need, wherever they are on their healing journey, whether that's immediate, they've just exited trafficking, or maybe they exited decades ago and have a label for the first time in their lives about what happened to them, and everywhere in between. So I'm sorry.
No worries.
I live in Oklahoma, and it does mean that I clear my throat more in the morning than I seem to remember doing growing up in Iowa. I don't know. Anyway,
fine.
Yeah. Yep. When I moved here exactly 18 years ago, there were a few things that sort of changed that I had to adapt to, with my body and physiology, but I'm used to it now. So that's that. That's my full-time work. Also, I'm an attorney, and I don't know, that gets thrown into the mix quite a bit, especially because I chair the Oklahoma Coalition Against Trafficking's policy working group. So get to impact some policy stuff for trafficking as well. But then there's this whole other reason why I'm here today with Margaret. And the way that she knows me is more through my work with helping people strengthen their capacity to do what's important to them. And that stemmed out of me starting Dragonfly and thinking, how do I keep doing this thing that's important to me without totally burning myself out and becoming, incapable of helping? And that has grown into, then that organically grew into people asking me, how you do that? What you doing? And I was like, well, this is what I do. And so that included things like writing. And so I got to figure out how to make time for all the things that are super important to me. And so, this conversation that I'm having with Margaret right now grew out of all of that. And this book that I'm talking about today was really helpful. Yay. It was really helpful in understanding myself and how to maybe capitalize more on the way I'm wired, understand how to take care of myself better. And then I organically talked to other people about this, and then they found that
in conversation. Just drop it in.
Literally.
Like you did with me. Exactly.
Yep. Have you ever heard of Gretchen Rubin? Gosh, some things that you're saying make me think maybe you would like XYZ. This is literally how it goes. And there you go. That's my intro.
Awesome. So lovely to have you and hear about your mission and have more people hear about it, which is great. So we love a self-help book. it's waxed and waned as a part of my library for sure. There have been periods of my life where I've dived into more books and more like wide areas. But I have a friend who is a huge Gretchen Rubin fan. And so I was introduced to her with the Happiness Project probably like a decade ago. But I hadn't heard of Four Tendencies until last year when Melissa brought it up. And I love a personality system. So I have two questions and you can pick which one you want to answer first, which is, have you consulted other types of personality systems where they tell you, if you're like this, you can do this to help yourself? And how did those hit? And did you have a road to Damascus moment with Four Tendencies where it hit you and you were like, oh my God, this is going to change everything? So choose comparative or road to Damascus first.
The answer to both questions is yes. The first one, yeah, I also enjoy that kind of thing, learning about myself, with, of course, also understanding that no system is gonna. Sometimes when I talk to other people about it, they're like, oh, that can't tell you who you are. And I'm like, yeah, no kidding. I'm not saying that it does. I'm saying that learning about it helped me understand maybe my motivations, or how to just understand what the heck is going on inside. So I have enjoyed getting to know the Enneagram. I'm a 1 wing 2. You too? What are you, Margaret? 4. That makes so much sense. I have a lot of 4s in my life. I've had a lot of 4s at Dragonfly. Me, very justice oriented. So are 1s, so are 8s, and then 2s who are the helpers. And there you have most of our staff at Dragonfly.
Right.
1s are a reformer. And I'm like, wow, okay, that fits. So that's been interesting, and helped me understand some other people in my life as well. What else? ENFJ, Myers-Briggs is interesting. I'm not as familiar with like all of the combos of the other letters, but that has definitely helped me understand myself. Recently, a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to take the DISC assessment. Are you familiar with that
one? No, I don't think so.
It's really
DISC with a C or DISC with a C?
Say that again.
DISC with a K or DISC with a C?
A C.
Okay.
And I think it's fairly workplace oriented.
Okay.
I had not taken it on my own. And my assessment came back ENFJ, 1 wing 2. I mean, it flowed right in. It's like dominant, influencer, conscientious, and then the letter S, and I can never remember which one that means. Very like security or something oriented. Anyway, it came back, you're an I, influencer, with a strong C, conscientious. And it's like, literally it said, your results are unusual because typically those 2 letters don't go together. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. So it's kind of funny. I've done Clifton Strengths. I think those are the ones. And then, the 4 Tendencies. And yeah.
Okay. And then when you first came across the system, was it before or after those? Were you already familiar with the types of systems? And how did it rock?
Myers-Briggs, I had taken, it must have been, let's say early 2000s. And I got ENFJ then. That was the one I think that might've been the only one I was familiar with. Well, no. You're getting me into timelines now. No, I must have known the Enneagram by then as well. I did, for sure.
Okay.
And then interestingly, maybe last summer or the summer before, I was like, I wonder if I'm actually an ENFJ. I mean, I took that when I was 22 years old. Right. Let me just take it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to emotionally safety plan, Melissa. If you get a different Myers-Briggs result, it's okay. You are who you are.
Right.
When I took it, and it was like ENFJ. I'm like, all right. I am who I am, I guess.
So funny.
So yes, but with Four Tendencies, I keep grabbing it because I guess I like to hold it. It's got a nice textured cover too.
I think mine does.
This was the beginning. It was right at the beginning of 2019, and I'd heard of it from a friend like you, probably close to when it came out, which was 2015.
17,
and I was like, okay, what's that?
2017.
Oh, 2017. That's right. Oh, so I bet my friend showed me this one that I was just telling you about. Technically, it was released first. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, the author did like a brief, like one chapter introduction in this book, which was about building habits. And then she put in like habit suggestions for each of the tendencies, and then did a deeper dive with this one. Anyway, so it was 2019, and for whatever reason, that marked I guess a road to Damascus moment, like you said, where I just kind of had these revelations about myself. And I was like, I'm going to do things differently than I have been doing them. At that point, we were almost 3 years into Dragonfly. And so maybe I'm like, oh, if I'm going to, like I said, if I'm going to keep doing this, I got to figure some stuff out. So yeah, that's what that was. And yeah. Okay. I keep talking for a long
time. No, that's good. So I'm going to nutshell this and explain why a personality system can actually be helpful. It's not just like astrology where you're categorizing yourself based on some immutable characteristics.
Good.
It's identifying with how you make decisions and what motivates you. She basically uses 4 criteria and says, yes or no on each, and what are the combinations. So it's a 4x4 matrix. It's internal expectations and external expectations. And how do you respond to both? Do you conform or do you resist? And so that's where you situate yourself on the 4x4 matrix. And if in looking at those, she then dives in and says, I've worked with this person when they said this, to illustrate. She has lots of examples. She says understanding the mentality is the first part of the chapter. Dealing with the mentality as a different person is the next part of the chapter. And then like in relationship, at work, that sort of example is what she goes into. So it is really helpful in trying to think, oh, I have a hard time creating this running habit. Why is that? One of the examples she uses is she has a friend who used to run in high school. It's the opening example. And she was like, bang, 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 like track star or whatever. And then as an adult, she was like, I'm finding it really hard to get back into running. And so she puzzled on this. Her friend Gretchen puzzled on this for years and was like, why is that? Well, it's because the expectations changed. It wasn't a coach. It was now only up to her. And so the shift is what helped her understand, oh, well, maybe if I have an accountability buddy, I'll actually get to do my goal. So in people like us who are searching out ways to get goals done and want to, I don't know, revolutionize the world, transform our society, something like that. Yeah. It can be really helpful to know how to attack it for your own motivation, but also how to work with others in a way that everyone feels like they're part of the mission and getting their own needs satisfied. So I find it really helpful as well, these sorts of systems. Yeah. And you may jive with different personalities or different descriptions differently, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. The next one is, how has the Four Tendencies framework helped in your advocacy justice work? And I was just going to say, to catch up with chat, is that life mentoring? I think, hi, Gareth, that was when you were talking about wraparound services, or maybe the sustainable productivity part. So either what you're offering at your nonprofit or what you got into YouTube to do. So I don't know.
I can kind of answer it for both.
Okay.
If the question is in the context of Dragonfly, we might get to the point of life mentoring when each individual person, if they express that interest, and if they are at a point, like it's advocacy at Dragonfly, and it's very much so. Trafficking takes away the power of choice. And so we seek from moment one to reinstill like power of choice, because sometimes people come in and they've lost kind of the ability for making choices, because depending on how long their situation was. Anyway, so just by putting them in the driver's seat and then equipping them step by step, then if they're getting to a point where they would be ready for something like that or express an interest in something like that, then I think it would flow in naturally. The mentoring is more like really trying to help them suss out what they want and what's best for them in that moment. You mean with with my own business, yeah. So I guess it's sort of, I'm not a life coach because that's like a whole process. I could call myself one, but I do coach people with like capacity. I call it kind of like capacity coaching. And I've done that with like people who are in my field, and I'm starting to expand that a little bit. That's that question. How has this book helped me? Okay. So the Four Tendencies and understanding that has helped me relationally support the people and work with the people at my organization to foster relationships, to help them sort of embrace that part of themselves so that they can, like Margaret was saying, achieve the goals they want, feel more empowered to do those things. Communication wise, I have some people on the team who identify as questioners. So Margaret, so we could maybe mention what the tendencies are.
Yes.
Go for it. You did a great job summarizing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's
phenomenal, faster than I would have done.
She takes the 4x4 matrix, which is not a very elegant shape, and turns it into a sort of quad Venn diagram here. So we've got the overlap of the different expectations. Upholder meets outer expectations as well as inner expectations. Obliger meets outer expectations but resists inner expectations. The questioner resists outer expectations but meets inner expectations. And the rebel says no. Resists outer and inner expectations, as you would expect. So those are the four like archetypes that she has in her framework.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm an upholder. I think I'm the only one at the organization. We have some new staff members. I don't know theirs yet. But so we have some questioners. Questioners do not like to be questioned. And so if they're like, I thought through everything, and so don't ask me any questions about it. However, I am an upholder that tips questioner, and I do tend to, sometimes I'm like, is this an option to consider? And sometimes it's not an option that the questioner has considered. Or sometimes I'm asking a question just to make sure that I understand. And that can seem like I'm questioning them. And so when I learned, and I didn't understand why was this a point of friction?
Right.
Especially when I'm like, okay, let me just double check. So you wanted this and this and this. And then all of a sudden there was this friction. And I was like, boy, I don't understand. I read this. I was like, questioners don't like to be questioned. So I adopted that. I was like, hey, so I've got some questions. It's just for helping my own understanding. And then I would tell these people about this, and then they'd be like, oh, okay, you know what? You're asking me questions right now, and I'm feeling kind of agitated, but you're not trying to question me. You're just trying to understand. Questioners don't like to be questioned. Okay. And I mean, just like having that sort of common language, immediately everything is good. We're like, right, we're just working this out together so that we can carry things out.
Right. It's like a question of tone interpretation, right? So if you're on one side of the argument with one set of defaults, you're interpreting the tone as, someone questioning your ability to do the research and know your shit. And then the other person's like, I'm just trying to understand this for myself. So it's trying to get the same page on each side of that wall of communication.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And then we have more obligers I would say that our breakdown actually pretty well reflects like the percentages that population. The author says like that she's seen from her research. So mostly obligers, questioners are the next largest segment. And then I think upholders and rebels are there's the fewest, and rebels are rarer.
Yeah.
So we have obligers. So obligers tend to, like Margaret said, man, they are going to do what people need them to do, but at the expense of what they want for themselves. And, her research showed that obligers are the tendency that tend to wish and say things like, can I change my tendency? I don't want to be an obliger. That's kind of hard. And so when I learned that, I'm like, okay, I am going to be a safe person for obligers. That's really important to me. You can recognize it. And so I'm like, I'm going to, with any of my staff members, I want to take care to not overload. Burnout in nonprofit is high. And then we work with such trauma and intensity that you have to be even more careful. But with obligers, I'm trying to like make sure that they are okay. And I have to really ask sometimes because and like dig in and not just be like, so everything going okay? And they'll be like, yeah, everything's great.
Yeah.
You have to ask a little bit more. And so I'm asking specifically about workload. How's this going? And then I'm telling you that I had an obliger that I asked every question I could. And there are a few external circumstances, but she left the position. And then she was like, well, it was just, she gave a few examples of why it was too much. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I asked questions and I didn't know that. I was like, had you ever considered doing XYZ different? And she was like, oh, no, I didn't ever think about that. And I'm like, and so I'm like, okay, Melissa, you have to add more questions to your roster because obligers are so committed to getting the job done that they might not even see their own needs. So that's really important to me. And also, one of my best friends is an obliger. And when we started, I was like, oh, have you ever heard of the Four Tendencies? She would describe herself as lazy. I'm like, you're not. I know you're not. You work your ass off. Oh, I'm just so lazy. I just am not motivated. Oh, I have no discipline. Oh, I have no self-control because she wasn't meeting her internal goals like she wanted. And I was like, well, have you ever heard of this? I knew she hadn't. I knew her well enough. She read it. And I mean, I have watched over the last, it really would have been summer 2019, 7 years. I just watched her and she took in that information and she set up accountability. And if something isn't working anymore, she's going to start figuring out, okay, where's my break in accountability? And she has met incredible fitness goals. She has a side business. Her house is more how she wants it to be, neater than it was before. Learning she was an obliger made her be like, okay, I'm going to do something about it now. Okay. Sorry. I literally could keep talking about
it. That's awesome. No, I love it. That's like
okay.
Poster success story. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I am currently reading, actually this morning I was reading and I thought, oh, this Four Tendencies right here. Have you read this book, How to Keep House While Drowning?
I have heard of it, but I have not read it. I've wondered.
Okay. So I finally got it from the library because, again, hardcover, small book.
Yeah.
Publishers, what are you doing? But a gentle approach to cleaning and organizing. And I hit this passage this morning and I was like the Four Tendencies right here. So I'll read a little piece. Even when I'm by myself, I tend to wander excitedly from project to project without quite wrapping up the former one before beginning the next. This isn't a flaw. I like spending my day this way. It's fun and enjoyable for me. It does make for a bigger mess at the end of the day, but the answer isn't to force myself into a clean-as-you-go habit that doesn't work for my brain. The solution is to develop achievable and even rewarding strategies for tackling a larger end-of-day reset. That's what works for me, and it's just as valid as the choice of those who prefer to clean as they go. She's highlighting that cleaning and whatever is morally neutral. And so, yes, like what? Yeah, amazing. But it's hard because you're set on this track, and once you have one of these experiences where you sort of open up your blinders of like how you were raised, it's like it kind of blows your mind. Yeah. And then you get on a different track and you sort of get accustomed to a different thing, and then it can happen again. You know, this has happened to me multiple times where you're kind of like, whoa, and you sit with it for a while and you like incorporate things and maybe you make your system a little better, but then you can go off trail again, like off piste.
Yeah, off piste. But it's like for me, because I have invested the time to get to know myself, if I'm off piste, I can be like, okay, where am I now? Analyze what's going on. Okay, this changed. Or like in Oklahoma, we're on week, I haven't tracked it, which is odd for me. I'm a tracker, but I could never have anticipated it. week 3 or 4 of temperatures being at 100 or higher with heat tendencies more than that, this is already my hardest time of year. I'm a northerner. I did the DNA thing, and I'm from all around the North Sea, and literally Iceland. And my body's like, why? What are you doing to me? Anyway, so that was a big revelation. I'm like, oh, right. Okay. I'm having a little bit of a harder time with stuff that typically I don't have a hard time with. And so knowing these things about myself means that I've got something that helps me get back on track for what I want to do. And what I really enjoy about the Four Tendencies is she's like, none of these is better than the other.
Yes.
Not a single one.
Yes.
And she's basically like, there are a-holes who are obligers. And there's a-holes in all of them, and there are nice people in all of them.
Right.
It's also not like a complete personality system. She really means it just to like hone in on expectations. And so she's like, you got all kinds of other personality traits that overlap with that. It's just, can we not moralize habits? A friend of mine had realized 3 or 4 years ago that she has ADHD. She was the kind of person that had white knuckled it her whole life with success and realized she had ADHD and was like, okay, I'm going to do something about this now. And so she learned to like embrace the parts, like this person is saying, embrace the parts that to her, that's cool, that her brain is wired that way. These things over here that are a little bit harder for her, she's also an obliger. So, okay. And she, I don't know, it was just a really interesting watching her on that journey, talking with her about it. It was so cool to see her get to a point where she is like, I'm not battling myself anymore. I know I'm not, lazy or disorganized or whatever. I am who I am. I'm going to lean into those strengths. I'm going to figure out a way to get where I want to go. I'm like, oh man, that kind of freedom that's built into the structure of the Four Tendencies, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. One of the questions I came up with that sort of gets at that is that this is an interesting framework, especially for like getting to goals and getting to what you want to accomplish with your life. I was wondering, like, where is it? A different or external factor rendered the tendency moot. So I'm thinking of like, for me, questioner, I don't know if I'd call it analysis paralysis, but the depression for a period of time definitely just sort of overwhelmed any systems I had set up. And I was questioning things and I realized I didn't have answers because I didn't have answers about internal goals or like identity things. And so that was really hard. That was just like a stop, look around. It was a really extended period of like get your bearings and try to get back on the path. So that was really hard for me. But like maybe you have a caretaker role that you're landed with all of a sudden, or you're going through grief and like it sort of just skitters all your systems or approaches or routines or habits away, and you have to relearn or recalibrate. And so have you come across experiences with that, or maybe read more of Gretchen Rubin where she's describing how those different systems interact? Or
so she stays away from mental health because she's not a mental health professional. Neither am I. For me, but I know, I mean, I've heard what you're talking about. So one of the things that I work on with people is meal prep. And, like I developed a system where I would do like a month's worth of meal prep in one weekend and freeze stuff with labels. And that really works for me. And I was talking to someone and they were like, gosh, you know what? When I am in a state of depression, I couldn't do that because I have to eat whatever is palatable to me at that moment. I was like, noted. But then I talked with someone else who deals with anxiety a lot. And they were like, gosh, that might actually help me because it removes a decision. Now I just have this limited set of decisions and that could bring me a lot of peace. And so I'm like, right. So every system, every way of understanding ourselves is always going to be impacted by these things. For me, so the best example I can give is sometimes I will have, this is just what I'm going to say. I'm keeping it purposely vague. Sometimes I will have weekend plans that I really don't want to do, and I would prefer not to. My weekends are important to me because it's when I have sort of a system of things I get done to set myself up for the next week.
Right.
And it's not some huge elaborate system. It's just stuff that if I don't do it, now next week is way harder. And already my job is pretty dang intense.
Mm.
So when I learned that I was an upholder, and I learned that different like systems and routines could really work for me, I probably knew that, but had never really leaned into it. I was like, okay. So I developed in my bullet journal a system for my weekends. And I would mark off the different things. I'm like, okay, if I've done this, first of all, it would help me get it done fast, so it didn't take up my whole weekend. Second, when I would lose a weekend, especially to something that was hard, I'm like, oh man, here's my system. It's my pal, and it's just here waiting for me, not judging me. It's like, go do your thing. I'm right here. All your decisions are made, and when you get back, let's work on it together. That's how it felt to me. And then probably personifying it might seem strange to some people, but then I would come back and be like, okay, I can quickly reorient myself. What is the most needed? I figure if I'm hitting that routine at 75 to 80%, I'm doing pretty well. What are the things I can do? Then I would be like, oh, I've got this weekend coming up. Oh, look at my system, and be like, oh, I could do some of these things beforehand. And now that's just kind of become a system for me. So if I get back from that weekend and maybe my mental health isn't super great, I need more rest and less doing. I have this system welcoming me back, and it's not moralizing anything. It's just there to help.
I love that. So there's a few key parts. There's the system that you've built. There's for me, the interlayer of like self-forgiveness that you have between letting it go and just starting again, which I have found hard to embrace throughout my life. And I think the other piece that hasn't come into play is this is all solo. I think both of us are used to working solo and like having to do our own thinking, planning, carrying out. And so I think what I've come to in the past about year is that I really need to knit myself into more social networks because it was just missing. And it was a really crucial component to my happiness and my being able to carry out these things, interacting with people. So I think that's another, besides having something that like wipes out your system and needing to start again, is that system to be resilient also needs to have sort of like branched out into other like people's considerations and, like networks and stuff. So
that's so good. Yeah. I will say one thing that I really associate with you is a lot of just being in the community, infusing yourself into the community. I really admire that, Margaret. I think it's so cool. And so I was telling someone, I'm like, I'm going to be on my friend in Portland's live stream this weekend. And they were like, what are you talking about? They're like unfamiliar with the concept of live streaming. So I'm like explaining it. And they're like, how do you know this person? I was like, it's called Tube. So I'm just like, she's an author.
Disembodied voice in live chat all the time.
Right. I was like, she's an author that I met through an online network. And they're like, okay, sure, they can relate to that. And I was like, and I was saying about you, I'm like, she goes and like fixes up, I don't even know everything you do, fixes up houses, and she's like involved in like this group and that group. And I was like, I don't even know what they all are. When you say them, I recognize the ones you told me about. But I was like, this is a woman who's out here changing her community. That's it. I just wanted to say I really admire it.
Thank you. That's only happened within the last like year or two. The whole letting go of my own goal and, trying to figure out where I plug in and help other people, because my goal is not going to be accomplished on its own. So that's been a journey.
It's really fed you. It's fed your soul.
Yeah. I think it's strange to like let go of something you've had for over a decade and be like, okay, I'm just investing in something new. Sunk cost. Who's she?
Right.
I want to say hello to the chat. Felicia is here and Leslie is here. So hello. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask. We're here as a sort of Agitation August spinoff for 2026, and Melissa's my only guest. So we're just going to talk about the Four Tendencies, how it helps, how it's changed lives, which we've heard some really great stories from Melissa already. So it's great. Let's see. Have you seen people change their own self-image and habits after understanding themselves better? You've already answered that. Yeah. Let's see. Planning. Oh, okay. So I was going to ask a little bit about the thing that you were talking about last year, which was sustainable productivity. And you mentioned tracking. So I've gotten big into this in the last couple months. I have always been a journaler. And in the past 7 to 8 years have gotten into bullet journaling and creating my own sort of as I go thing. And then the last couple of months, it's been like, oh, we're going to load this puppy up. It's going to be pretty. It's going to be full. It's going to be bursting with joy and energy. I don't know. It's where I put my effort. And so like, how does Four Tendencies maybe relate? Or is it just that when you're happier and more fulfilled because of the system, you feel like you can just do more stuff? And like, yeah, the planning is easier.
It's a really good point. I would imagine it's both. I had not thought of it that way, Margaret, but I think you're right. If we're finding a way to embrace who we are, finding a way to walk toward the things we want in life, then one would imagine that naturally that's going to make it's going to be kind of like a momentum snowball effect. It becomes easier. Maybe you build resilience.
It's called a positive feedback loop, or right?
That sounds right. That sounds right. Right. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, sure. A snowball or a positive feedback loop. A snowball in a good way. Snowballs can go either way, frankly.
Right.
But I do think that, okay, so if you take the quiz, which is also online, can I give a caveat about that? And then help me remember to come back to the specific question.
Okay.
When I first took the quiz in 2019, I did the online version and I came back as a questioner. Okay, so that meant that I would resist external expectations, but I would very much lean into internal expectations. Questioners, if they're questioning an external expectation over here, they're like, okay, if they're going to meet that, that means that they've adopted that as an internal expectation. I was like, okay. So I get the Four Tendencies book and I'm like, I'm going to start with questioners to understand myself better. And I was like I was listening to the audiobook and I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess I relate to this. I was like, okay, well, now that I've done that chapter, I'm going to go back and start from the beginning. And then it got to upholder. And I was like, oh, nope. I am such an upholder. I tip questioner. So there's so I understand it, but I am more like, I'm going to do it all. And I really, 4 years of therapy has helped with that as well. I definitely recommend that. But so learning I was an upholder meant that I started categorizing, is this an external expectation or an internal one? And I would find that if the external grew too much at the expense of the internal, it got harder and harder and harder to get myself to constantly meet those. And so I started prioritizing internal expectations as well. And that actually gets into the planning part. I started making plans and systems that would help me meet the internal ones, because the external ones were so many and so heavy that I'm like, I got to do something to protect these over here. So that informed a lot of what I've done to take care of myself. As far as what was the actual, it's in the comments, right? Something about the planning question. I'm not seeing it.
Oh, no.
That was your question?
That was my question.
Oh, sorry. Okay. But then I would say the other people I've known, yeah, like we talk, actually, if I may, I actually think that the system that I have developed and now shared with people, which is really like thinking about someone's year, you and I had a conversation about that. I've been having that more and more. I'm about to have the conversation with someone on Thursday. And in fact, oh, hey, I was just found out that I was accepted to the AWC conference to specifically talk about like an annual, to present that at AWC in November. So that's cool.
Awesome.
I've seen I developed that literally in my bullet journal for myself, which was, why are some times of the year so hard?
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, let's break it down. And so then I'm thinking about it more in terms of capacity now than productivity, because I'm like, this is so much, it encompasses so much more. And so, I think that when you know yourself and you understand the internal and external expectations, marrying that with the four tendencies and how that plays out over the course of your year, identifying patterns. And then you're like, all right, now I know what the pain points are, the sources of friction. And if you start there, and it can be very gentle, or it cannot be gentle, depending on how someone wants to approach it. Now you can start tackling the things that are consistently making life harder, or understand why something is harder. Am I answering the question? I'll stop there. You can let me know or guide me.
I'm trying to think. My question was sort of convoluted, so I think we're getting there. The journaling is not exactly what I meant. You were talking about bullet journaling. Just define. Let's just define that. So when I say journaling, I mean like I have a separate journal where it's my morning first thing in the morning thoughts and my evening last thing in the evening thoughts, and it's basically just a brain dump. A brain dump is a technical term for bullet journals. Bullet journalers, where you write down everything that is just like messing in your mind. So the theory is that when you get it out on paper, it stops circulating in your mind over and over because you're worried you'll forget something, right? So it's an anxiety tactic, I think.
Yeah.
So the journaling is like working through feelings and like bringing down anxiety. The bullet journal is sort of like a command center. I feel like some of it's processing, some of it's planning, some of it's don't forget this, like appointments of life and all that kind of stuff. And I recently, along with making the journal prettier, I started looking at more journaling channels on YouTube. So there's a whole other side. There's AuthorTube, there's BookTube, there's JournalTube, whatever they call it, right? Bujo. Okay. And there's one, Joshi Corinne. She's New Zealand. Sorry, I didn't want to say that. New Zealander, Kiwi, who's done a whole bunch of different things, including a lot of layouts or reflective pieces, basically, that are having you think about your own processes and what your goals are in a different way. So I think maybe I am of a generation that is used to a certain type of just brainstorm and brain dump, and there's not really much nuance to it. But either the way that your creative brain is going through the exercise that you're putting in your journal, or some other magic mystical interfacing, it just is a new way of looking at goal setting and processing events and understanding yourself, which I'm finding really helpful.
Cool.
So that's what I'm thinking of in the back of my mind, and sort of thinking of the sustainable productivity. And there's elements of both in both approaches. There's like the get to know yourself to get to help yourself on your journey kind of thing. And that's what I think is great.
Okay. Well, I can't speak to anyone else's. I haven't had conversations with anyone else who does bullet journaling. I don't think anybody in my life or my immediate community or circle does that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I can speak to my own. I've mentioned it a little bit, like how learning I was an upholder helped me with that. Is that kind of the question?
Yeah.
Okay. So, it kind of like it evolves depending on whatever season I'm in, but that bullet journal is where I would distinguish between like, what I do is like set up my entire month in the first whatever set of pages. And then at the end of each month, I do 2 per year. So I have more, I divide it in half. So I have more space. Cause then at the end of each month, I'll have 15-ish pages, which are just for notes. So if a meeting takes place that month, I can find those notes right there. Or, you know, if I'm like, okay, now I'm in the month of, I've already started this for September, like September projects. And I will mark them with internal or external expectations. And I won't just put work projects. Like for my job, I'm also putting my own goals and projects in there. And so like, if I'm like, oh, the external expectations are getting to be way too much, have a way to be like, all right, what am I missing with internal expectations, which is also a form of self-care for me. It's good for my mental health. And so I can be like, okay, emergency times, I'm struggling. My internal expectations have not been getting the attention they need. So now I'm going to specifically spend time on those. I'm kind of in a season of that right now. And it has helped me so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do sprints help with that?
Oh yes, sprint all the time. I mean, oh my gosh, the way that it has become so infused into my very being. Here are 2 examples. One, just last weekend, I was working on things. I needed to do stuff around my house and I didn't want it to take up my entire weekend. So I'm like, all right, I'll do like back and forth sprints. So a chunk of time sitting at my desk working on a project, and then 10 minutes, which is also good for my body to get blood flowing, for example. And then I'll run and do these different chores and stuff. And that kind of helps me. I have also incorporated sprints into Dragonfly for my team. And I've done it a little bit with other departments and they really want me to do it again. So we have a lot, right? So I like to front load things so that when stuff comes up out of the blue, I have a cool example I'll give you that I think you'll really like, Margaret. When stuff comes up out of the blue and suddenly we're like, all right, we need to put all of our attention toward this. The things that we also have to do don't fall by the wayside, and hopefully preventing burnout. So just last week, I was like, okay, I told my team 2 days, make sure that you've got everything done for those 2 days in advance, because those are special project days. One of my staff members was like, I know what this is. The other 2 were new and they were like, okay, but what are we doing? And I was like, you'll find out.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like, okay. And I gamify it. And so Human Trafficking Awareness Month is in January. This was August 4th and 5th and 6th. And I set out stuff that each person would do. And we've got now, and I'd be like, you got to sprint. You have this amount of time to do it. Go. And they're like, well, okay. And I have very detailed instructions and they can help each other and they get points that are arbitrary and they all go to like a game of some kind. Right. We have 4 events booked, locations booked, logistics in place and then like frameworks for those events and a list of 200 people to invite to one of them.
Wow.
Here's an excellent example.
Planning retreat. That's amazing.
What's that? What'd you say? Sorry.
Planning retreat.
Planning retreat that has sprints infused and it accomplishes both planning ahead. It also have new team members. And so it builds the skill and the vision for that in them. Now they're like, what do you need for this? Hey, I've got this far. So now we can incrementally move it throughout the rest of the year so that hopefully it doesn't all fall at once like it used to when I ran all my departments alone for the first 6 years of Dragonfly. Here's a cool example as to why that was so helpful. 2 weeks ago, are you familiar with Nicholas Kristof from the New York Times?
Reporter, yeah. Vaguely, yeah.
So he was in Oklahoma about a month ago and came to Dragonfly. We were like, what? What? came to Dragonfly, interviewed us, interviewed some survivors that we know very well were like in a good position to do that kind of thing. And then 2 weeks ago, his opinion piece came out where he mentioned Dragonfly. And in a week, we received over $20,000 in donations from people on the coasts, like the liberal strongholds. It was kind of fun, who had presumably never heard of us before.
Right.
So what that means is now my team goes into, we have a robust gratitude system. And that was a lot of people who needed handwritten thank you notes, because that's what we do. And so if we've planned ahead and worked ahead on stuff, which is what I've trained my team to do, when stuff like that happens, those things it's right during our grant season. So many grant deadlines. So we can meet those, do the gratitude without burning everybody out. I don't know why I went down this path. It's just fun to talk about sprints.
It's good. Yeah. And good to talk about successes. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's like, I hear the phrase like a machine in my head, but it's a good thing. Normally that's like, I don't like that metaphor, but like you just launch into action. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to go on a special project day with you. That sounds amazing.
I'm so down to plan special project days with other people and make it fun.
Okay, so just cascading off of this planning conversation, I was going to ask, how do you motivate yourself? How do you reward yourself? And what do you track? So we talked about sprints a little bit. The reward, because you go to the lake, like what other things are built into that are helpful, that might give other people ideas about rewarding yourself? And then what do you track? Because I'm launching into that.
Yeah. Rewarding myself has always been hard. Celebrating successes, making things pleasant rather than just grinding myself into dust. This is a somewhat recent development. That is the other side of being an upholder, which Gretchen calls it upholder tightening, which is just being like, just bolting myself, chaining myself to a desk or whatever until the thing is done. I've done that a lot in my life. And so it's fairly recent. Yes, I've got a little lake that's a few minutes from my house that I basically never went to. And all of a sudden that's become a place where I will go and I'll just sit. Yesterday, I was just like, I'm gonna go look at the lake. I had to pick up a dress from the tailor. A friend was moving. I was going to take her and her husband some coffee drinks. And I was like, I'm going. So I just drove to the lake. It's about 8 minutes from my house. Pulled up and I just sat there. I was like, oh, look at that bird. No, those people out there, it's so hot. They're on a boat. And I just looked at it. And I was there for maybe 5 minutes. And I was like, never mind, I'm good. Off I go. That I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Never. Rewarding myself more with like, and
can I just interrupt and insert here? Like, we have things that are positive, that are maintenance, which I would say the lake maybe falls into that category. And then we have things that are rewards. So how do you differentiate the two in your brain so that like the motivation works, but you also get what you need rather than holding it off until you get something done? Because I think that's dangerous.
What were the two reward versus
like maintenance? So you go look at the lake because you need a break. You don't have to do something before you deserve that. You can incorporate it into your routine. Yeah.
You know what, Margaret? Now that you're talking about it and defining it in that way, I think I operate less with rewards. I think as recently as last summer, maybe 2 summers ago, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to work until 10 and then I'm going to go take my dinner. I'm going to finally eat and I'm going to go sit in a park that's not by my house and eat my food in the park in the dark in my car. And that was my reward. And it was exhausting. It really didn't help. I mean, it was good to like get out of my house, but I was so tired. I don't think I operate with rewards anymore. I might say to myself, now this is something more. I'll be like, I'm going to work until sunset. because then maybe that is a reward, but it doesn't feel like you have to work till sunset to deserve this.
Yeah.
It's more like I'm going to work till sunset or just before, and I'm going to hop in my car. I'm going to go to the lake and I'm going to watch the sunset over the lake because it's fun. And I don't see it as like I deserve it because I worked hard, because I'll do that when I haven't. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I do rewards so much anymore. What I do now is if I have a lot of tasks to do, like let's say like I've got a lot of work emails I got to get through. Well, I can do those on my phone, not sitting at a desk. I will take myself someplace pretty and I'll be like, okay. And then I'm telling you, I will get through those work emails. I will knock them up, but I can every so often look up and be like, what a nice tree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's wonderful. I'm outside, I have fresh air. You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe I am more about maintenance than reward now. It's a really good way to put it.
I don't know if that's revolutionary for others, but to me that there's a sort of a constant spectrum of like, do I need this or is it a reward? Or I don't know how to think about that. It's still developing, I guess, in my head. So
that's really good.
Yeah.
Some people might benefit more from something feeling like a reward. And it could be like the exact same activity. But for one person,
right,
it's like, if I do this, then I get this reward and that kind of like dopamine hit. So,
yeah, interesting. Yeah. All right. And then what do you track? And then we'll wrap it up because I know you've got a weekend to do.
So. Yes, I do. What do I track? So I track, I guess it's tracking my weekend. I call it my weekend system. Nice. And so I have it in my bullet journal. And when I do a task, I highlight it. And then I can go and be like, okay, what haven't I done? Because I might be like, this really doesn't need to happen this weekend. This doesn't need to happen. And by tracking it, I can be like, okay, I haven't hit this one in a couple weeks, so I'll make sure to do that one this week. So that is sort of a tracking system. And then I had a thought that I want to share with you. And I like doing a lot of short-term challenges. So 10 days of XYZ.
Me too. Okay. Yes. Short term, like sprint mentality without has to go on forever perfectly.
That's right. 100%. Yeah. So I have a few of those different kinds of challenges that I'll often do with like friends, friends that live anywhere from 100 to 500 to 10,000 miles away. But we communicate all the time and we do these little like chunks together. So there's some tracking involved with that, just calendar tracking. And then I will track project development, kind of like a project management sort of thing, with stuff for work and then stuff for myself. But can I say something?
Yes.
You are a questioner. And do you know which tendency loves tracking the most? It's questioners.
Because it's data.
That's data. They love a spreadsheet or they love a data tracking system, not a spreadsheet. But not a spreadsheet. Well, so maybe that's your rebel tendency.
Yeah.
Tipping. You're like, no computer for me, but making your own tracker. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it's more of a frustration with capacity, actually. So if I had capacity development, the things that I don't feel like I do well, I don't like to do them. So that's what that is. Yeah.
Don't do it then.
Yeah. Do you want to hear what I track?
Yes.
Okay, so there's like a few things. Miles per week. So I get out and walk, and that's both a mental health thing as well as a physical health thing. So that's on my list. Keeping up with the YouTube channel. So 2 videos a week. I make sure I do those and check them off. That makes me feel good. I have oh my goodness. Where is it? Where is it?
This is so fascinating. I'm talking to the viewers right now. Where did Margaret go? What is she getting?
Look at her. This is my YouTube growth tracker. So if you zoom out, it looks kind of pretty, but it's really just like a list and a whole bunch of like correlations.
That is really cool.
I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours so that I could get monetized on the channel. And so I was like, eking myself along, eking out the progress. And so that's over 5 years that it took.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. So I track subscribers. And I sort of do it, not really anymore, because I hit the thing that I wanted, and now I'm like, okay, we're done. Moving on to the next thing. Book sales, first of every month, I'll track book sales, because if I don't keep on top of it, like, I don't think I'll ever catch up with keeping track of the numbers. So I do that.
Good.
Appointments on the calendar, and then recipes that I make.
Oh,
but I track those in the cookbook. So there's no like comprehensive system. I'd have to go through every cookbook and look at the date where I made a thing. So I'm still
that's cool. Well, so you're jogging my memory. I will imperfectly and inconsistently and yet somewhat regularly track my own meal prep. So like, what did I make? What worked? What didn't work? And I'll put that in my bullet journal as well.
So I'm transitioning from the last year. I think I had 13 months, August to August, of stuff in my bullet journal. And the next one that I'm transitioning into is going to be a lot less time, because it's going to have a lot more analysis and like things, right? So I'm putting in all these like new sort of systems or reflection points and trying to put them in enough pages, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like considering all of this. So I've got meal plan stuff, but it's more flexible and like movable. It's got stickies. So I'm pretty excited about that.
There's a lot of sticky notes. Yeah, this is my first half of the year. So this is lavender. It's hard to see. I realize lavender is hard to see on screen, but it's so pretty. So I'll be like, gets to be about November. I'm like, what color am I drawn to this year? I'm like, and I always know immediately which one it is when I see it. But so this was January through June for that exact reason. There's just there's just so much stuff that I want to keep track of, and it really helps me. So then another thing I realized looking through this, what I will do is I'll often, maybe as much as once a month, look through the last month and be like, is there anything, rather than crossing stuff off a list, I'll highlight it. And I will go through and be like, what is not highlighted? And I'll be like, is it, because I'll have stuff in there multiple times. I'll be like, oh, that's done. And I'll highlight that then in all of the areas where I see it. But sometimes I'll be like, yep, this is not quite done yet. And so I can carry that over. I just did this last weekend, and I'm like, so that's not spinning around my brain. And I'm like, what am I missing? What am I missing?
Right.
And you can capture that all on like a project tracker and then move that forward. And that has really helped me.
That's awesome. There's got to be like a technical psychological term for that feeling of what am I missing?
There
like
has
that
to be.
edge. It's not anxiety. It's not full-blown anxiety, but it's like I'm not capturing something, and it's like a worry and a weird thought process.
Looming. It looms.
Yeah. If someone knows the term, please put it in the comments.
I want to know.
Yeah. That's an amazing journey from getting to know yourself to getting to know what you want to getting what you want. I feel this is amazing progress. And I hope other people can like pick up the Four Tendencies, do the same journey and tell us about it. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah, I would love it. If you're an audiobook person, I would say Gretchen reads them, and Gretchen has, to me, of course, everyone is going to be different. I think she's got a great reading voice, very steady, very calming, but like with a hint of humor. She would seem very serious, but she loves like The Office and Parks and Rec and all of my same favorite shows. And so she'll incorporate that in as well. Tons of stories. I don't find her writing to be dry.
No.
I
humor comes through.
Sorry. What's that?
The humor comes through.
It does,
Funny,
So I own her books. I like when it comes to something like this, I like to have the combo where I can highlight and make notes. Sometimes I'll listen to something first to be like, should I buy the book or not? And so this was one of them. But it's one when I learned I've learned over the years, oh, this person in my life is this tendency. So I'll go back and listen sometimes to that tendency every so often and just be like, I wonder if there's a way that I can support them better, reduce friction, just maybe reduce the friction within myself, understanding them better. And it has helped me time and time again.
Right. It's like that old quote about resentment is like biting into poison and hoping the other person dies. Like,
That's right.
like you want to heal yourself.
What's the point?
Do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Not good.
Whatever. I messed that quote up, but it's something like that.
And yet I knew exactly what you were talking about. It's the resentment and the poison and the whatever and the whatever. Got it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for coming on the channel. I'm glad you said yes when I was going to do a whole big thing. And then I'm glad you said yes when I was like, can we still do the thing so you can come on and we can chat? Because this is
it's always so fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for watching. And if you're curious about the book, I think there's a link in the description to go check it out. And definitely, whichever way is correct, go check out Melissa's channel and subscribe for her next sprint. Do you know when the next one will be?
No, but I was just thinking I got to get some on the calendar because it helped me so much the last 2 weekends.
Amazing. All right. Well, that's the community helping and stepping up. So great. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. Take care of yourselves, and reward or maintenance. Tell me in the comments. I'm going to puzzle on that one a bit more.
I'm really curious. That was a good thought.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.